Introducing Charlene and Ella. These are the stars of the next video. So welcome back, YouTubers who are again. I'm Scott from Bold Goals. We have a Pilates session for you, 20 minutes long, no equipment necessary, just a mat, maybe a little water. This is just a sweet follow along. If you're interested in some more of what I do and where I'm doing it, then pop along to boldgoals.co.uk. You can find out where my sessions are, what I'm doing, a bit long if you want some online sessions. But for now, here's something you can just follow along to. So guys, I'm going to get you to stand at the back of your mats. Let's check your pelvis for neutral. Make sure your feet are hip width apart. So I'm going to start with some pelvic tilts, so just tilting the pelvis forward and backwards. And once you've settled your pelvis into neutral, we're going to rest the arms at the side of the body. And we're going to warm up the calves and legs, find out some balance as you raise up through the toes. Now whilst you're raising up through your toes, think about the top of your head. Imagine your top of your head is being sucked up towards the ceiling, and you're easing up through the ankle joints. And then we're going to add in some arm floats. So we're going to float the arms up whilst you're raising up on the toes, and then float the arms down as you float back down through your feet. So keeping your balance. If you find yourself a little bit wobbly here, pull your belly button in, lift up your pelvic floor muscle. That will help to stabilize you from within. And then we're going to bring the hands together at the chest. We're going to add a little rotation of the upper body. Now the knack here is to keep your pelvis facing forward whilst you only twist from the upper portion of the body, so your torso. Think of rolling outwards as you breathe out, but as you breathe in, come back to center. So let's release the hands. Roll down to touch your toes, roll through the spine. Again, belly button pulling in, lifting pelvic floor, and we're going to roll back up. Now if you roll back up on the out breath, that'll help with pulling the belly button in. Head comes up last. And then into a monkey squat, press the hips back, bend your knees. Now again, your knack here, keep some weight in your heels. Keep your spine long. Now be careful not to look forward. Now Della's misbehaving a little bit here. She's looking a little bit too much forward, but that's okay, we'll let her off. As well as Charlene. Perhaps they're just watching me and my directions. So adding the two things together, monkey squat, and then raising up through the toes, float up through the toes and up with the hands. Good, so just flowing, belly buttons pulling in, spine staying long. And then we go into a side bend, one side, and back up. Now keep the pelvis in place, keep your weight equal through your feet. So this is about the upper spine bending. And then we're going to hold here, float the arm up. With your out breath, you'll get a little bit more bend and stretch. Ease back up on the in breath, and then same opposite side. Again, the arm floats up, and the out breath, we go a little further. So we're going to roll down again, chin to chest, rolling forward, rolling each vertebrae, moving individually. So we're going to walk out, come on down at the tabletop, hands and knees. Make sure your hands are underneath your shoulders, or in fact your shoulders above your hands, your knees underneath your hips. So we're going to tuck toes under, we're going into cat knee liftings. So we're going to lift the knees just off the ground, barely off the ground, but hold position, shoulders away from the ears, so stabilize those shoulders, belly buttons pulling in, lifting of pelvic floor. Continue to breathe. We're going to rest the knees down. And then we're going to come up into what I call high knees. We're going to take one leg out to the side and raise the arms up. And as you breathe out, float yourself across, raise the arm up and reach over. Ease your way back up and then cross to the other side. Now, if you find your knees not so comfortable, you can grab something a little bit softer underneath the knee. So again, flowing with the breath. Use your core muscles, inner breath, lengthen tall. Let's see if you can get that hand to touch the floor, flatten out. Some of you may find this is quite a good stretch. Some of you will use this more for movement. And then stretching, progressing, and a graceful finish. Let's switch sides. So then other leg out. Find that same position. Lengthen the body. Make sure the body is directly above your kneeling leg. So we breathe out, we stretch over. In breath, we come up tall, lengthen tall. And then again reaching across. And of course you may find that one side is not the same as the other. You may find that you have more flexibility than one side. And if that's the case, well, the more you practice, you can start to address the balance between the two, the left side, the right side. Just flowing with your breath. So again, last one across, and again with that graceful finish. So we're going to come on to hands and knees, that tabletop position again. Again, find your neutral lengthened spine. So we're coming into that swimming prep. Going to raise the right hand or left hand, your choice. For opposite leg slides back, keep the foot in contact with the ground. And then we'll do the same on the opposite side. So we're going to raise that leg just off the ground. We're going to add 8 circles. Big circles, but make sure your body stays level without movement. Shoulder stays stable. Make sure your heads don't lower. Once you've done 8 one way, we do 8 the other. Really focus inwardly on what's going on through your body. And when you're done, rest back. We're going to go into shell stretch. You'll know this is yoga. In a yoga pose, it's known as child's pose, but we call it shell stretch in Pilates. And then when you've rested, let's do the same on the other side. So again, back to tabletop position, hands underneath shoulders or shoulders above hands. So opposite hand then comes forward. And then the opposite leg. We slide. Eventually we bring the leg off the ground, keeping your neutral. Careful not to raise the hip, careful not to lower the hip. Stabilize the shoulders, and of course we're doing 8 circles one way, 8 circles the other. And once you've done your 8, again we rest. So we're going to come a little bit more forward to the front edge of the mat. So tucking those toes under, again to cat knee lifting. So from here we're going into what we know as kick sit. And returning back to that tabletop position, and then same on the other side. Now the knack here, really focus in on your supporting arm. The shoulder stays away from your ear. Your bottom lands very close to your hand. And whilst we move with grace, keep your bottom level. So don't stick it up in the air. Keep your knees close to the ground as you move. This one you may need to practice if you're new to this, but it's fun. Just keep practicing. So we're going to rest here, we're going to extend up your top leg. I'm going to raise the body into what you might know as a side plank. We've got two levels here. In the back row you've got Charlene, fully extended legs. Della's in the front with a knee on the floor, but notice it's not kneeling directly on the floor, it's slightly on the side. So you've got the pressure through the arm. And make sure your shoulder, that supporting arm, your shoulder is away from your ear. Each time you come back up, make sure you're lengthening through the body. You can add a little lift of the hips as you tuck the arm through, but always come back and level up. Think about the core muscles pulling in. So you've got belly button pulling in, you're lifting pelvic floor muscle. And we're going for 8. And when you've finished 8, we're going to lower back down. We're going to come back to that tabletop position. And again, into cat knee lifting, we're going to switch to the other side, but I've got the girls to switch around so they can still face the camera. And we're going to come back to the same place. Again, the same level on this side as you did on the other side, the same amount on this side as you did. So if you managed 2 on the other side, do 2 this side. If you've managed 8, then do 8. So we've got that twist through, touching the hands to the floor, but always coming back up. Now remember, that lower arm, your shoulder, stabilize your shoulder by pulling your shoulder away from your ear. Think about the length through the body as you work. And like I say, you can add a little lift of the hips as you tuck that arm down and through. Once you're done, we're going to relax on down. We're going to come on down onto your backs. So let's prepare the body for shoulder bridge. Feet hip width apart. Now we're going to progressively roll up. So we're going to move vertebrae by vertebrae. We're going to start with the pelvic tilt. So we're going to tilt the tail, back pressing into the ground, and then roll back into neutral. And then the second time we're going to pelvic tilt into imprint, and then maybe a little bit further, so you're lifting one vertebrae, and then rolling back down. Now let's flow with the breath. So as you breathe out, you tuck under the tail, you roll the pelvis, you maybe roll into your second vertebrae up, and then breathe in and pause up there, and as you breathe out, roll back down, back into neutral. So progressively working your way up and down. Now I find this works really well for the spine, because it really gets you to kind of focus in on what your spine is doing. Now we're going to stay up this time. We're going to rest the hands on the pelvis, and the hands are on the pelvis just as a measure to make sure your pelvis is not dropping, not lifting. And I'm going to raise one leg, and we're going to go for a bent knee, so tabletop position with the leg. And then we're going to return the leg on the out breath and do the same on the other side. Now if you find this is too much, you can always come on back down, lay down on the back, roll back through, and then come on back up and rejoin us. But if not, let's do another. First side, and again second side. Now we're going to rest after this one. So once you've replaced the foot on the floor, on the out breath, roll down, make sure you're rolling, don't just drop down to the floor, roll through the spine. Let's rest the legs into what I like to call butterfly wings. Just allow the legs to relax, allow the body to relax. Then we're going to ease those legs back up again. So again, back into shoulder bridge, our feet hip width apart, we're going to roll our ways up. Again with the hands on the pelvis, just as a measure to make sure the pelvis is not misbehaving. We're going to raise the leg up. Now on the in-breath, we're going to extend the leg. On the out-breath, we're going to lower it 45 degrees down. In-breath, we're coming back up again, and then lowering with a bent knee, foot to the floor on the out-breath. Do the same on the other side. So as you breathe out, raise up the second leg, tabletop position. In-breath, extend the leg up. Out-breath, lower it to 45 degrees. And in-breath, coming back up again. And then ready to return to the floor with the out-breath. Good. And let's do the same again, or you can rest down. Depends on which level you're working at. So flowing with the breath. With each in-breath, out-breath, you have the next movement. So with the out-breath, we lower the leg to the ground. Again, we in-breath in preparation, and as you breathe out, second leg comes up. Knee bent. In-breath, extend the leg up. Out-breath, 45 degrees down. In breath, it returns back up, and then with the out breath, we lower back down. And again, we're going to roll our way back down and stretch the legs out. Give the body a bit of a rest. So let's tap one knee up, second knee up. Let's bring the knees together this time, feet together. Again, find your neutral, so make sure there's a little gap underneath your lower spine, lumbar spine. And we're going to raise up one leg. We're going to keep the knees together, thighs together, but one leg's extended. So we're going into pelvic circles. Remember, pelvis is in neutral currently, and this is where you're going to return to. So as you breathe out, float the legs, the body, roll the pelvis one way. Keep your shoulders on the floor, so don't let them raise up. And then on the out breath, return. Now make sure you return back to neutral. Let's do the same again twice more. So 3 on this side, and then 3 on the other side. So out breath. Roll the pelvis to one side, and as you breathe out, come back to center. Now you could add in some head movement here. So as your pelvis rolls out to one side, you look in the opposite direction. But the head and the pelvis come back to the start position together. So let's rest that leg down, let's switch other side. Again, starting from a neutral position, a little gap underneath the back. Keeping the knees, thighs together. Roll just from the pelvis, make sure your shoulders are not moving, not sliding, not lifting. So all the movement's coming from the lower portion of the body. Again, you can turn the head and look away in the opposite direction to where your legs are moving. Always returning back to center. One more to do. And then we're going to lower that leg back down. Again, slide the legs out, or butterfly wings, your choice, whichever you find most appropriate, most comfortable. So let's roll onto your side. I'd suggest roll onto your side, face the camera, or face the TV, whichever you're looking at. So we're going to lengthen out through the body. Now, we're going to raise up the top leg, we're going to hip hitch. Now we've got a close up here of Charlene doing a beautiful hip hitch. Notice the legs staying level, horizontal, and the movement comes from the pelvis. Got some nice movement through the lower back here. We're going to do that about 8 times. And then we rest it down. So once you've done 8, we rest. But then we're going to raise that leg back up again. Stretch the leg out like you did with hip hitch, but we're going to circle. 8 forward, 8 back. Now think about how the pelvis is stretching. Top pelvis away from top shoulder. So you're creating a little space underneath your body, underneath your waist. So keep that length in the leg, and when you've done 8 one way, we reverse. We go 8 the other way. Keeping that gap, that space underneath the body by stretching the leg out. And again, when you're done, rest the leg down. You may not make it to 8 times, that's okay. But let's do the same on the other side. So let's switch the body over. Of course, make sure you're still watching the screen because you want to see what's going on. So again, we're going to raise that top leg up. And again, hip hitch like we did earlier on. So pressing the foot away from that top shoulder and back in. Feeling the movement. Now, of course, the body's not always equal. It may not feel the same. You might not respond the same way on this side as you did on the other side. So this is part of what we're doing, and this part of what I focus in on with my Pilates classes is addressing those balance issues. Now when you've done 8 of the hip hitch, let's go for 8 circles forward, 8 circles back. Again, 8 is our target. If you don't make 8, that's okay. You can, do this video again and again, and you'll get stronger and stronger, and your body becomes more and more reliable. So when you've done 8 one way, go 8 the other. remember that space underneath your body, the space at your waist, where you're going to make contact with the floor. And then we're going to ease that down when you're done with the 8. We're going to come on back up to a seated position. So we've got 2 levels here. This is roll up. Bella's going to start with a slightly easier level. So she's going to roll back. Tilt the tail under, belly button's pulling in. We're going to keep that curve in the back as you roll forward. And then restack, in breath, restack the spine, starting from the base of the spine, working your way up, lengthening, looking forward. And again, the tail tucks under as you roll back. Now Charlene's going to come for the roll up. She's coming from the base of the floor, rolling through, reaching past the feet. And then again the same, restacking the spine, coming up tall. So again, rolling back, belly button pulling in, lifting pelvic floor muscle, control, movement. So choose the level that suits you. Now of course, if you're with Della's in the front row here, you can use your hands on your thighs just to assist on the way up, on the way down. But I want you to really focus in on your core muscles, the belly button pulling in, the lifting of pelvic floor muscle, the movement of the pelvis, the way it tucks under, the movement of your lower back as you roll back, and you keep that curve in the back, and then you focus in again on the restacking of the spine, lengthen, segmental control. So wherever you are, this time we're going to roll all the way down, we're going to roll down, we're going to lie down on the floor. So one time, all the way down, and then stretch out those legs. Let's stretch the arms above the head. So, as you breathe out, hollow, engage. We're going to roll the upper body up, look at the toes as we raise one leg, and then we're going to switch legs. So in breath, again out breath, opposite leg now raises up, lower back pressing into the ground, so it's just the upper portion of the back coming up. Think of how your ribs kind of pull down towards your pelvis. Good. Now be careful here that you're not jamming your chin against your chest. And focus in, again, belly button, pulling down into the ground, lifting pelvic floor. Good. So making this one your last. Now of course feel free to restart the video again and work through the whole routine again, or save it for another day, come back to it tomorrow, the day after. I've done another video which I will release in a few weeks time. It's the second part of this video. So yeah, see you again soon. Like and subscribe. See you next time.